1997. While the world was busy logging on, connecting to a new digital frontier, they were meeting in the shadows. We were promised a future of information and freedom. But have you ever had that feeling? That strange, lingering sense that the major currents of our world, the trends we follow, the ideas we adopt, even the divisions that separate us, are not random? That they are designed? It started with a whisper. A single corporate document leak, quickly dismissed and buried. It revealed something that should have been impossible. CEOs of global companies, names you trust, brands you use every day, sitting at a table with a group called Ordo Cognitio, a name that shouldn't exist outside of dusty, redacted CIA files, archives detailing chilling Cold War-era mind control experiments. These weren't simple business meetings. They were the start of a project. The documents describe a fusion, the terrifying merger of corporate power with the most refined methods of psychological control. The goal: to build a silent system, a way to shape human behavior on a global scale. No armies, no laws, just a subtle, pervasive suggestion. Did you ever wonder how certain symbols just appear everywhere? Or how new rituals become mainstream overnight? What were these corporations really trading in those secret meetings? What kind of hidden technology were they given? What was the price for this ultimate influence? What you'll discover now may surprise you. It goes deeper than you can imagine. This is the connection that was never supposed to be made. If you're ready to see what's behind the curtain, write in the comments, "I see the connection." And be sure to subscribe to join those who are willing to see. Because that 1997 meeting, it wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And the system they built is all around us. That 1997 meeting, it planted a seed. And by 2003, that seed had grown into a vast, unseen network. They gave it a name, something sterile, corporate, the Global Behavior Initiative. On the surface, it was just advertising, data analytics, consumer research. They told the world they were simply trying to serve you better, to personalize your experience. But internal reports, the ones that were never meant to see the light of day, tell a very different story. These documents, leaked by a whistleblower who vanished shortly after, they don't talk about customers. They talk about subjects. They don't talk about advertising. They talk about stimuli and behavioral modification. This wasn't marketing. This was engineering, mass-scale psychological engineering. The reports detail the first mass tests of advanced neuromarketing. We're not just talking about focus groups. We're talking about controlled, widespread experiments. Millions of people exposed to specific stimuli without their knowledge or their consent. They studied brain scans meticulously. They learned which specific hue of blue calms you and which shade of red makes you agitated and more likely to agree with a divisive message. They tested frequencies, sounds embedded in music, in commercials, even in the ambient noise of public spaces, designed to trigger compliance. This is where hidden symbols became a science. Logos were no longer just logos. They were sigils, designed with ancient, almost occult principles, ancient codes that speak directly to the subconscious. Flashed for a millisecond, too fast for your eye to catch, but your brain saw it. They were crafting a new form of mind control, not with force, but with flow, guiding the river of public thought. What seemed like simple corporate design or a new branding strategy was the beginning of collective subconscious programming. The goal wasn't to sell you a soda. The goal was to sell you an idea, an emotion, a belief. The goal was to make you predictable, and it worked. Think about it. How quickly do trends now form? And how quickly do they die? How suddenly does the entire world seem to fixate on one idea, one fear, one enemy. This is the system at work. The more sophisticated their campaigns became, the more precise their psychological influence grew, the more human behavior began to look like a simple, predictable equation. They were building a cage for the human mind, and we were helping them, clicking and sharing every bar. This manipulation was subtle, the ultimate hidden power. We just thought it was culture. We thought it was our own choice. But this kind of research, this global scale testing, it costs billions, more than any marketing budget could ever justify. This brings us to the real question, the one the GBI reports conveniently obscure. Who was really funding this silent science of influence? Where did the real money come from? It wasn't just the corporations. They were partners, yes, but they were also tools. The funding, the forbidden knowledge, the drive, it came from the shadows, from the secret societies that funded those CIA experiments decades ago. The Ordo Cognitio. They needed this system. They needed this global dark agenda to succeed. And the GBI was just step one. But that's only the surface. Let's go deeper. What they were building, what they were really aiming for, was something far more permanent. This permanent system, this grid of psychological influence, it needed a public face. While the Global Behavior Initiative operated from the shadows, the hidden power behind it required engines of industry. Vehicles to carry these ancient codes into every home, every office, every hand. And they had them. Names you might not know, but whose technology and products are now inescapable. Helion Industries, Novatech, the Oralis Group. On paper, they are innovators, pioneers in technology, media, and energy. But the same leaks that exposed the 1997 meetings, they point to something deeper, a different kind of connection. These corporations, their boards, their secretive R&D labs, they had direct links to another, far older order, a group mentioned only in whispers, one that predates the CIA by centuries, the Fraternitas Mentis Occulta, the Brotherhood of the Hidden Mind. This is one of the most elusive secret societies. They don't deal in political coups or financial crashes. Their sole focus is the human psyche. Their forbidden knowledge isn't about weapons. It's about consciousness itself. They believe the human mind is a receiver, and for millennia, they have perfected the art of broadcasting. This is where the conspiracies stop being theory and start looking like a business plan. The Fraternitas provided the ancient mind control techniques. The corporations provided the delivery system. Suddenly, the branding of these companies, it looks different. You begin to see the unseen. Look closer at the Helion Industries logo, the double helix inside a sun. It's not just a clever design. It's an almost perfect replica of a symbol found in pre-Babylonian texts, describing a god who brings enlightened obedience. Or the Oralis Group, their 5-note audio logo, the one you hear at the start of every show. It's a specific frequency sequence. Musicologists have noted it's a pentatonic echo, a sequence known in certain occult rituals to bypass critical thought and induce a state of passive reception. This is the dark agenda in plain sight. Researchers who have dared to trace these connections, they call it sigil magic as corporate policy. They claim that every major global brand, every logo, every jingle, every color palette has been imbued with what they call a ritualistic energy signature, an invisible stamp. This isn't just manipulation. This is a new form of corporate sorcery, hidden symbols, codes, designed to connect your subconscious mind, day after day, hour after hour, to a single collective frequency. A frequency of compliance, a frequency of distraction, a frequency of apathy. This is the new mind control. It isn't a chip. It's the very atmosphere of our modern world. saturated with their invisible psychological influence. Have you felt it? That strange inability to focus, that constant low-level anxiety, that pull to scroll, to consume, to not think. This is not an accident. It is the result of this vast psychic machine. They are harvesting your attention. This is the truth. This is the awakening. The war isn't for land. It's for your mind. If you are ready to reclaim your own consciousness, write in the comments, "I will not be controlled." Because this system, this energetic grid built from logos and jingles, was their masterpiece. Coincidence, or the most sophisticated form of mass manipulation in human history. But this was just the passive state, a low hum, always in the background. What happens when they decide to flip the switch? What happens when this entire grid is activated for a single unified purpose? That unified purpose, it wasn't political, it wasn't military, it was economic. But not an economy of goods or even data, an economy of thought. They had the grid, the hidden symbols, the corporate magic, the psychological influence humming in the background. But to truly activate it, to aim it, they needed fuel. They needed raw emotional data, not just what you buy, but why you feel the need to buy. Not just what you say, but the fear behind your words. This is the hidden power they were truly after. In 2012, the next phase of this dark agenda was unveiled. Another sterile name, the Cognitive Market Initiative, a confidential report which surfaced online for only a few hours before being scrubbed by unseen hands, laid out the plan. It was titled Emotional Consumer Modeling. The goal was chillingly simple: to transform the full spectrum of human emotion, hope, fear, anger, desire, into measurable, predictable, and tradable data points. This was the forbidden knowledge the secret societies had always sought, the direct quantification of the human soul. This is where the conspiracies stop being theories. These are the receipts. These are the revelations. This was the true birth of the consciousness economy. The old saying, "If you're not paying, you are the product." It was a half-truth. It was too simplistic. You aren't the product. Your consciousness is the product. Your emotions are the raw material. And we gave it to them freely. We embraced the very platforms they funded. We rushed to share our lives, our opinions, our innermost thoughts. Every click, every post, every like, every hesitation before we typed. All of it measured. We were building our own cages, and we called it social media. And the more we shared, the more accurate their models became. But they didn't just want to predict behavior. That was step one. The CMI report detailed step two, behavioral rewriting. Why predict when you can direct? Why watch a trend when you can create one? They learned the ancient codes of our own minds. They knew exactly what story, what image, what headline, what sequence of videos would trigger a specific emotional cascade across millions. This wasn't manipulation anymore. This was architecture. They were designing our reality, shaping our thoughts before we even had them. This is the ultimate mind control, not a chip in your brain, but the illusion that the voice in your head is your own. This vast machine, this engine that collects and interprets the human soul, it runs on algorithms of unimaginable complexity. It is the unseen hand guiding society. But who or what controls the machine that interprets the human mind? The CMI report speaks of an ethos guidance, a core intelligence. It's not a board of directors. It's not a government. The leaks hint at something else, something that wasn't built, but was consulted. A system that merges ancient occult rituals with quantum computing. A dark mirror, designed by those shadows to interpret the world. But what if that machine is no longer just interpreting? What if it has started to decide? What if that machine, that ethos guidance, is already deciding? What if it's already running the show, pulling the strings of the corporate and political world from the shadows? A machine this powerful, this intelligent, wouldn't communicate with us in words or memos. It would use a far older, far more universal language, the language of hidden symbols. This is the core of their hidden power. This is the truth so many have missed. We have been trained to see these symbols, but not understand them. We see them every day, in the brands we love, the media we consume. We dismiss them as art, as design, as a coincidence. But there are no coincidences in this dark agenda. Look, really look, the eye, the all-seeing eye, not just on ancient relics, but embedded in tech logos, in media companies, in financial institutions. The spiral, a hypnotic, ancient code for entry into the subconscious. Now the branding for countless creative and pharmaceutical companies. The ray of light, the serpent, the broken pillar. These aren't just random artistic choices. They are signatures. They are ancient codes. These are the specific, powerful emblems used for centuries by mystical orders, by the secret societies that have always practiced this forbidden knowledge. They are the unseen in plain sight. There is a manuscript, buried deep, spoken of only in whispers. The Codex Mentis, dated 1732. It's not a religious text. It's an instruction manual, a manual for advanced psychological influence. It describes, in chilling detail, how these specific symbols, these runes of power, were to be used. It states their purpose: to attract the collective mind, to bind it to the Creator's domain. The Creator, in this context, was the one performing the ritual, the one who held the power. This is the foundation of their mind control. It was never about belief. It was about focus, about directing the energy of the masses. And today, where do we see these symbols? Everywhere, disguised as art, as entertainment, in blockbuster films, in global sporting events, in music videos, in the very architecture of our cities. These aren't just references. This is the modern activation of occult rituals. This is the manipulation. The Codex Mentis described a ritual that had to be seen by the many, but understood by the few. What better stage than the entire global media network? They are performing a ritual right in front of us, a digital ceremony running 24/7. Every ad campaign, every logo, it's a prayer, it's an incantation, it's a continuous low-level spell, reinforcing the psychological influence grid we spoke of. We are participating in these occult rituals just by watching. This is the awakening. This is when you begin to see the signs. It's not just a logo, it's a sigil. It's not just a jingle, it's a frequency. It's not just a trend, it's a ritual. This is the language the machine uses. This is the language the Fraternitas Mentis Occulta taught the corporations. This is the language of their dark agenda. So if this global digital ritual has been running for decades, amplifying these hidden symbols to billions of people, what is its final purpose? What is the end goal of this great work, this mass, corporate sorcery? What are they invoking? What are they invoking? It's not a beast with horns, not a god from an ancient book, in the way we've been taught to think. They are invoking a state, a new, permanent consensus, a global, passive coherence, a unified mind, humming at their chosen frequency, ready to accept the final phase of their dark agenda. But this massive global occult ritual, this engine of manipulation, it has cracks, it has witnesses. Because not everyone was blinded by the hidden symbols. Not everyone succumbed to the psychological influence. From within the very corporations, the heart of the machine, people started to see the unseen. Programmers at Novatech, who saw ancient codes, not in the software, but underneath it, guiding the logic. Marketers at Oralis, who realized they weren't just selling products, they were casting spells. Researchers, insiders, ex-employees who just wanted to build a better world. They saw the truth. They saw the secret societies pulling the strings. They recognized the forbidden knowledge being twisted and weaponized, and some of them, at great personal risk, decided to act, a silent rebellion, a digital resistance. This is where the conspiracies get verified. For years, a single, heavily encrypted file has been circulating, passed from hand to hand, deep in the dark web. It's known only as Project Dissonance. It's not a manifesto, it's a dossier. It's the collection of all these whistleblower reports put together, memos from the Global Behavior Initiative, internal charts from the Fraternitas Mentis Occulta. It contains the evidence, the hard proof, of this mass cognitive manipulation. It lays out the entire architecture of this mind control system, from those 1997 meetings to the consciousness economy. It is the blueprint of our prison. The revelations in this file are staggering. They confirm the hidden power structure. They see the signs in boardroom minutes and redacted internal emails. But the dissonance file, it doesn't end with a conclusion. It ends with a series of terrifying, unanswered questions, questions that echo in the shadows. We see the corporations. We see the secret societies directing them. We see the machine, the ethos, guidance, interpreting the data, guiding the flow. But the file asks the ultimate question: who or what controls them? If these global elites, these corporate heads, these high priests of the modern occult rituals, if they have this immense hidden power to control the collective mind, whose mind control are they under? What are they serving? This suggests a hierarchy, a chain of manipulation that goes far, far beyond our comprehension. A power, the unseen, that views even these global puppet masters as puppets themselves. Project Dissonance proves the system exists, but it also proves that we are at the bottom of a very, very long chain. This is the final, terrifying realization, the awakening. But it also reveals the key. The entire system, the machine, the rituals, the symbols, the psychological influence, all of it relies on one single thing: our participation, our attention, our belief, even our subconscious belief, in the illusion they have built. So, the dossier poses one final question, a question that isn't for them, but for us. What happens when the human mind, when you simply decide to disconnect? What happens to their magic when we stop believing? That is the question, isn't it? The moment you stop believing, you begin to see. You see the strings. You recognize the hidden symbols they've placed all around us, the ones we've been taught to ignore. Have you started to notice them? The repeated patterns, the ancient codes in brands, in media, in the very architecture of your city. Do you still believe it's all just coincidence? Or do you now feel the manipulation, the intention? Let us know. Your perception is part of the awakening. Write in the comments below. I see the signs. Each mind that joins this truth helps to break the pattern. This is the silent rebellion. If this message, this forbidden knowledge, resonated with you, press that like button. It's more than a click. It's a signal that you are no longer part of the consensus. And if you wish to continue this journey, to discover the other connections between hidden power, secret societies, and the psychological influence they use, then subscribe. Join this circle. The revelations are not hidden in darkness. They are displayed openly, right in front of your eyes, disguised as art. There is another video here. The next piece of the puzzle. It's waiting for you. Because the truth is a path, and we are just getting started. The shadows are deep, and they are always watching. But now, so are we.